Hello and welcome to The Binge Thinker for another week. My name is Jamil Raymond. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, yes you, here today. On today's episode, more of the same, just catching you up on my life. Got a couple of interesting articles to share and ruminate and reminisce about. Well, I can't really reminisce, they're pretty current articles. But what's happening in the world of Jamil? Still growing, man. A couple of big wins during the week. I have secured, I've got a verbal commit on another coaching client, which is fantastic, which means I'm about half to 3/4 of the way there to covering my costs in Tech Sales Academy, which is fucking fantastic, baby. Like, I just got to get there. It's just going to be more work, more efforts, more great content. Just keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm sure in the next month, I'm pretty confident in the next month with what I've got going on. Particularly in June, I'm wrapping up my lecture series with the VC fund. And from what I understand, a few of them are quite hungry to get some sales support. So that should hopefully cover me and with coaching for the time being, whilst I build the community, build the business out, which will be good. So good to have that on board. A much more relaxed week last week compared to previous, just settling into the rhythm, just having confidence, believing that this will get places, right? We will get there. It's really about me and my efforts, and it's just literally about money. So what do I have to do? I just got to create money like I always have. And this week, just literally today on the Monday before I record, this comes out, I have sold the car, sold my Audi. I only got 15 grand for it, which is a bit of a shame. I bought it for 30 like 3 years ago, but in this current market, it's very hard to find buyers. And I had an 18K offer last week that I sat on, and I shouldn't have, which was annoying. And at this point, with how I'm going with cash flow and how things are growing at the moment, I might have to take, a $5,000 L on the car itself, but that will keep me going for another 2 to 3 months. And then in those 2 to 3 months, I'm sure that'll be covering my costs and it won't really matter. And I don't even really want the car anyway. Literally, I drive it to the shops and back on a Monday and maybe on the weekend, right? That's literally it. If it's in the city, I'll take a train or an Uber, most likely a train because traffic is fucked in Melbourne. I go across town to see my parents. That's about it. They can come this way, and it just gives me less reason. Oh, no, I can't make it. Sorry, guys. What a big deal. I would like to go. It's so annoying. I was like, I should go away on weekends more. And the time that I'm like, I should go away for weekends more, I'm going to get rid of my car. But I'll just hire a car or something like that. I haven't really even planned anything yet, but the intent is there. So that's where I'm at. I'm trying to, this week, the schedule is a lot quieter as far as last week, every fortnight, I've got these lectures that I have to deliver for the VC fund. So last week I had my lecture, so it's to create and produce and do the content. Great. I got some great feedback. They said it was their best 2 hours they'd ever done on sales, ever. So that's fucking good because I had fucked up there royally just the fortnight before. Not because of my content, because I said something inappropriate. I'm not going to go into the details, but I said, I'm trying to be a comedian. I'm trying to be my authentic self. And I've put a joke in there that some people might not necessarily find tasteful. It is slightly distasteful, but it's just relatable. And that's just what the price of being real in life is that sometimes life is definitely not politically correct. And it's not that I said anything, it wasn't anything egregious. It's just a reference to a situation. And then there's a couple of swear words in the course as well. But again, that's just me being real, right? Just me being a real human being. And some people don't quite like that. And it became a bit of a PC fest once the initial complaints about about the content came through. And I was like, ugh, again, it's not worth going into the details. Also, again, just in case, don't want to smear any names or the fund itself. They're in the clear. They have every right to control the content that they give to their people in a professional manner. And I should have run it past them first. right? So no disrespect to them. Certainly a lesson for me to keep what I want to teach my way in my own little world. So that's fine. But to bounce back to when that happened, though, I was freaking the fuck out that I'd lost that gig because I knew that there was so much potential in that. But I brought it back. I was very professional, doubled down. When you fuck up, just like in account management, when you fuck up, you double down. You show that you're willing to, you put your hand up, you apologize, you accept responsibility, and you do what you can to repair the relationship. And that's what I did. I was compliant with all of their requests, gave them as much extra work that they needed, was very generous in the content that I gave them. And then, the fact that we've gone from you could be cancelled to this is the best 2 hours of sales we've ever done. Whew! Whew! Ups and downs this ride, mate. Ups and fucking downs. So this week, very quiet. Lots of meetings, catch-ups with people in the community. I talked last week about evolving this into a community. I am all in on that. I just spent this afternoon doing some life admin and then also building out what version 2 of Tech Sales Academy looks like. Version 1 just being the course in the community. Version 2 expanding into a digital mentorship, some free products, and then building the engagement cycle from there. So very excited to do that. I've just drafted that up today and I will run that. I'll basically do a pitch to, I've got a bunch of people that have reached out just wanting to talk about mentorships and advice. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk because, I want to get people's advice and I want to hear what their problems are, what their feedback is. Because then this is what I'm solving for. I know that the fundamental gap in technology sales is so big that there are so many questions out there. And if I can answer as many of those questions at once in my platform, then that just creates immense value. So I'll listen to these people, give them as much advice as I can, just be as generous as I can as per usual, figure out what sort of questions I want, give them a soft pitch of what I want to do, and see if they like it or not. It's just literally just market research and market testing. If they love it, fucking great. If not, what would you want to see to make you go, fuck yeah, right? Because I'm not trying to, like I said last week, there is a fundamental gap in technology sales education that I feel compelled to get to before some corporate shill fucks it up and makes it some boring, make quality tech sales education another boring fucking framework that they will charge through the arse to corporations, drain the soul out of it, and then force it down our throats, and you won't pick it up because it's not interesting and doesn't relate and it doesn't sound like it comes from the real world, right? Fuck that corporate shit, man. That's another thing is that I really want to lean into the rebellious aspect of what I'm doing here. Telstra, in all its fucking glory, announced more redundancies, a significant amount as well, another 2,800 jobs, and it sort of re-triggered me as to 3 years ago when they made the last round of cuts, which I was made a part of. And I want to say something about it because this is the reason why, motherfuckers. This is the reason why we're here in the first place. That's why I'm here, because I can't trust the fucking corporation with my well-being. And this is why I'm building it, because it's just going to get worse, man. It's just going to get worse, right? AI is here to stay. It's transformational. And people are... here's my theory, is that before we get to a self-aware AI that we're afraid is going to wake up and be like, humanity sucks and destroys us all, what's really going to destroy society before we get to that point is corporations turfing out thousands, millions of jobs in favor of AI. Why? Because AI is much cheaper and easier to manage than people, right? AI can work 24/7. AI does not make mistakes unless you put errors in the process. AI doesn't not feel like doing it today. AI doesn't care what pronouns you use to fucking talk to it, right? AI isn't going to take a day off because its dog died, right? And I'm not saying that these are... I'm not saying that these are bad things necessarily, but when you are a corporate machine that is completely, wholly and solely focused on delivering value to the shareholder, that means you don't look at people as human beings. You look at them as numbers and productivity and risk versus the machine that does not complain, will do what you tell it to, doesn't ask for 4% pay increase every year. It doesn't ask for, paid parental leave, right? It just does the fucking thing over and over again, ad infinitum, ad nauseum, and as cheap as you can. It's just literally application, data center, power, something to keep some sort of management overhead. Boom. That's it. No insurance, no healthcare, no perks, no Friday pizza, no performance reviews, none of that, right? All of this managerial overhead, which often bloats larger organizations. People are going to look at, smart people. Don't get me wrong, they are smart people going to go, well, if technology can do this with half the risk and half the cost, why wouldn't I? And I'm doing the exact same thing in my own business. So it's not like I'm saying that assholes are doing it. Good people are doing it too, because it does make sense. Because it's so much easier just to implement these technologies that learn and do the thing and not have and mitigate as much risk in your business flowing, right? It's an organism. A business is an organism, and it'll shed people and it'll shed the resources it does not need. It'll atrophy the resources and get rid of them, the things we don't need. Just like when you, if you've been in the gym and you take 3 or 4 months off and you don't use those muscles, they go away, right? You have to respect the fact that these things are living, business is a living being organism, and it will get rid of you when it doesn't think you're necessary anymore. And you got to protect yourself against that shit, man. That's the reality of where we're at. So that's what I'm doing, is just, this is why I built Tech Sales Academy. To get people, just to give people the skills, because it's going to get fucking dire out there, man. It's going to get dire, and value generating skills are hard to find. Hard to find. Excuse me, what? I was talking to one of my mentors, talked about him last week, the university guy with 6 degrees. I was one of the last people to get a to pass selling and sales management, and was one of the last top students in that unit at Swinburne. And so they're not teaching you how to sell in university. Not that you would really want to learn how to sell from university anyway, but to understand the fundamentals of sales, because you're being sold to every fucking day, right? That's almost like teaching people, it's like almost teaching people not to drink water, or not teaching people how to drink water. Right? It's such an essential part of what we do, and how we are bombarded with marketing and advertising all fucking day for the sake of what? A sale. So to have that being constantly used against you in marketing, in sales and advertising, it's ridiculous that we aren't educated about that more. Right? Yes. The rebellion begins. So this week, got a bit of spare time testing it out. Gonna build this free community. Had to do a bit of life admin today. I'm shedding, man. I'm shedding my roots. That is probably the theme of today's episode, is that it is time to shed. And my time here in Australia is coming to an end. It's limiting. I don't know exactly when, but maybe getting out by my birthday. We've talked about this a few weeks ago, but it's starting to come to that point now. It's like, fuck, I could be in Thailand or the Philippines and, make my dollar stretch to 50% more. And I have to get to the US anyway, I think. And we've talked about this, but yeah, I've just been seriously considering it, man. Like today, we have an investment property, which has been a fucking pain in my ass since day one. A really bad investment. I was part of it too, but I was like, I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I didn't know shit about property. It was mostly my dad's idea. Bought a fucking townhouse in Dandenong. The builder was a dodgy fuck. did not build it properly, didn't seal the balcony, didn't level it out. So when it rained, it would actually just pour water. Water would leak into the top floor of the double-story townhouse. And then over the last 2 years, it's basically rotted the inside of it. It's fucked. The builder's some dodgy Chinese cunt. And I don't say that lightly because he's a fucking cunt to deal with. And he's Chinese. And yeah, like the tenants are assholes as well. And I haven't raised the rent. So it's just become this massive liability on our books from negative gearing because we bought it through we've got a self-managed super fund. So we can use our super to buy assets like properties and stuff like that. We bought this property with the self-managed super fund money. We thought we could negative gear it. We thought it would gain value, gain equity and value as an immediate long-term investment. In the 5 years that we've had it, it has not improved in price. The build quality is shit. It's so shit that the builder did the entire block of townhouses. I think there's like 5 or 6, and 2 other of them are completely fucking suck as well. So this guy's a dodgy fuck. But the recourse is such a long and arduous fucking process. It's a pain in the dick. And yeah, I just don't have the time to deal with that whilst I'm fucking building my own business. And Dad's just basically given it up and passed it on to me to fucking handle. So it's just one more bullshit to deal with. So yeah, that's what I've just done. Is I now got to have to throw the fucking book at this dickhead. I'm getting an inspector in, one of those hard-hitting ones. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some of you guys have seen the TikTok inspector. This is pretty good. Is this guy, this house inspector, just looking at dodgy builds, and he's an interesting character on TikTok, and he's got like this huge following, like 300,000 followers. But he's just passionate about the job. He's just showing, hey, this is fucked, this is fucked, this is fucked, and showing how dodgy the construction industry is in Australia. It's fucking rife. So anyway, I've got to I got to get this house inspected. I have to go to VCAT, which is like small claims tribunal, to get this fucking dog to commit to what he's supposed to fix. The reason why there was issues in the house in the first place is during the handover, when it was a new build, it was off the plan, it was a new build. There's something called a handover report. So what you're supposed to do is get it inspected end to end independently, get it audited, and if there's any fixes or issues in the build, it's captured by a third party. You give that back to the builder to remediate before you hand it over so it's safe. We did that report. The builder did nothing, and then somehow the property managers moved tenants in without addressing the problem. And this was before I was taking control of what's going on here. So it's just a fucking nightmare, right? It's just an absolute fucking mess. So I have to go all the way back to like 2019 when we bought the fucking property and make sure that he's ticked off every box in that handover report. I took that to the government, to a tribunal. They said, fix all these. And the cunt said, yep, fixed a couple of them, didn't do the rest. So now I've got to throw the book at this dickhead because he's non-responsive, get this entire place audited end to end, make this dickhead fix it, and then make sure it is structurally sound and safe to sell. And if we're lucky, we'll get what we paid for it back. So it's developed no equity in 5 years. And that's what happens when you buy a townhouse, right? Property, not that I'm a fucking mogul by any means, right? Technically I own, 30%, 33% of a shitty townhouse in Dandenong. Don't buy apartments and townhouses for that. That's not what generates equity. Equity generates in the land, not in the building, because you can knock down a building and rebuild on it. It's about how much space you've got to build upon. So literally, I think we paid $530,000 for this townhouse, and I don't think it's made more than, I don't think it's even gone up 20K in 5 years. Compare that to every other fucking house that you would have seen around Melbourne and the insane property and rental prices there are right now. And because it's on a self-managed super fund, it's not like a self-managed super fund mortgage is like almost double the percentage points. Like it's like 3 or 4% more, maybe more, 5% more than a normal home loan. So the interest is a bitch to pay off, and and the negative gearing and the rent doesn't cover that gap. So we're just eating a bunch of shit financially. We're eating all that negative gearing, the loss on the house out of our super fund. We lost like 20 grand last year. And so it's not worth it in the slightest. So I got to sever this. I got to cut this fucking thing off, cut this leech off because it's off. I just moved all the family assets into a bunch of shares and ETFs that are gaining and growing the fund, which is fantastic. But then literally all of the gains that I generated from the shares are being eaten up by the property, which is a fucking pain in the dick. So now I want to get rid of the property, get the money back, any equity or any profits, if at all, that we get from it, I'm just going to reinvest in shares. That'll just sit with my parents, and I can't touch them. It's a self-managed super fund. I can't touch till I'm 65. So I've got a long way before I can touch it. So it's really just for the parents to, have a nest egg, so to speak. So hopefully I can trim that off and get that done with. And then, I sold the car. So that's, my biggest asset besides my brain gone, which will be gone this week. So now it's really, all that's really leaving me here, all that's keeping me here right now is Jambo, my comedy gig, and, feeling bad for my parents and, leaving them be. But I got to fly this fucking coop, man. I got to be a fucking adult and live my life and do my thing. I can't be stuck here because of those two people. I was going to say something negative, but I will refrain from that. I can't just live my life because my parents are here. They're 65. They're not fucking 90 and on the cusp of death. They've both got a good 10 years left in them each. So I can go out and live my life just like they did, right? But they moved to Australia when they were 31. So why can't I get the fuck out of here at 33? Same difference. So I shall. I was looking at Bangkok or Cebu as potential places. Bangkok seems tempting. KL seems tempting. The Philippines seems all right. But I don't know. It doesn't seem as well developed. I don't know if I said this last week, but I do want to go to the Philippines. I've got some unfinished business there to speak to I have to go visit my grandmother's grave. She was there when I wasn't there when she died. So I feel like I have to go visit that, honor my grandmother. She was a lovely lady, apparently a fucking savage, but a lovely lady nonetheless. You'd have to be a fucking savage when you raised 9 kids in the 50s in third world Philippines, right? Regional island, not some main island shit. Like, imagine, I don't think they didn't have plumbing for most of their lives, right? There was some proper jungle Asians. It's true. It's very true. So she would have been a tough bitch, my grandmother, but very loving, very soft to me. So I just hear war stories, It is what it is. Yes, it is time to go. I mean, part of me is tempted to just go when the car is sold, but we'll see. I got a bunch of shit to sell here. There's so many material goods and material wealth that I no longer need because I'm a transient being, and I shall just be floating around the universe and this planet Earth. So I got a bunch of shit to sell. I was looking around. I was like, I don't need half of the majority of this shit because I'm just going to be living in 2 suitcases, and most of that shit will just be clothes and production gear and my laptop, really. So, I got tons and tons of shit to sell for cheap. But then it's like, I got to deal with fucking tight asses and people trying to talk me down on Facebook Marketplace. You fucking dogs. But what do you do? That's the nature of the game, right? Everyone's out looking for a cheap deal. So that's me. That's where I'm at right now. A couple of things I wanted to keep you updated, say what's happening in my world, what I'm scouring, what I'm keeping an eye on. I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't know if you saw the Terrence Howard episode of the Joe Rogan podcast. Watched that like 2 weeks ago. And if you don't know, Terrence Howard is this actor, very well known, well, not very well known, but a decent actor. I'm pretty sure he was in Iron Man 2 or some shit. And basically, he was apparently some sort of maths genius, and basically he's basically some sort of polymath now, who is completely turning on its head the fundamental theories of like physics and chemistry and biology and the universe and our understanding of the universe itself, actually, which is pretty wild. Like, he was like for 3 hours. I looked at his website as well. Basically, he's trying to prove that gravity does not exist, and then basically he's completely changing the way that we understand physics and you know what? I cannot explain this. Because the whole podcast, I was like, I know he's onto something, but I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. I just knew that he was onto something, right? He was going into complex, physics and chemistry and like shit that I have no idea about. But what resonated with me, literally no pun intended, is about the stuff about frequency. And basically the periodic table of elements actually is not squarely structured. It's still structured on vibrational frequency at the atomic level. And that these different frequencies correlate to different elements that we have in the known universe. And if you combined these frequencies together, you can actually replicate the effects of these. So it's like a vibrational signature, right? Each element has a vibrational signature, and if you can recreate those signatures and play them together, you can get the correlating effects of that element and produce that in space or in the environment around you. So that was pretty cool to think about because, like we've talked about on this podcast, everything is energy, anything is frequency and vibration. Nikola Tesla said the same thing. And so it really does compound that into that even further with this Walter Russell's theory on the periodic elements, the periodic tables based on these octave-based frequencies. And so it is, pardon me, really interesting. We could be, I am no physicist by any stretch of the imagination, but anything that correlates to vibrational and cymatics, which is the study of sound, I think we're all converging towards that. And then one of the interesting things you said that I kind of just made sense to me today is about decoding that 1 times 1 equals 2, as opposed to 1 times 1 equals 1. And what he's really saying is that 0 does not exist. That realistically, we invented 0 as a filler. It literally is a nomination of empty space, right? We just needed we create 0 as a placeholder for nothing, right? And that basically, because we think that there is this, there's a positive and a negative to everything, that the 0 would sit in the middle, but realistically there is nothing. If it's a placeholder for nothing, then the 0 shouldn't count and shouldn't exist. And by changing the multiplication tables, again, this is way past my area of knowledge, that, somehow 1 times 1 equals 2. Let me see if I can pull up the PDF version on his website, because, I feel like I should know this better, being a pretty good, I'll tell you that 78 times 8 equals 56 any day of the week. You give me 12 times tables, motherfuckers, I will fucking smash you at times tables. But getting my head around the concept that 1 times 1 equals 2, I'm just like, maximum brain power. I do not get it. Yeah, he's talking about inverse operations. That is not, I am not going to be able to explain that. I'm sorry. But he has got some cool memes in there. So I should probably read this a little bit more. Yeah, this is way too complex. Well, what do you do? How many pages is this? I might have to, Mathematics 101, I could use that. Yes, anyway, yes, look it up. Go on to tcotlc.com if you want to dig deeper into this. It's very interesting if you are into the esoteric like me. It's not even really esoteric. This is actually just fundamental universal shit. It's not weird woo-woo shit. This is literally fucking completely with our this is fucking with the complete fundamental understanding of what we know about the universe. That's not woo-woo. That's some deep shit, right? That's rewriting. That's changing the game, potentially, for all our knowledge of the universe. Because basically he's saying once we can figure out how this works, then it's almost like we'd be catching up to aliens who may have already known this sort of shit. And we can fuck around with the universe in ways that we couldn't even have considered in the past. Like using vibration to channel sound. To channel mass. So doing levitation and being able to, for example, send rockets into space without having to use massive fossil fuels. And apparently Terence has this thing where he can, using a conversion of hydrogen, he can basically create basically like gunpowder and, create a gun that doesn't need gunpowder. Basically using a chemical reaction to create the explosive force that's required to expend a bullet. He can do that by fucking around with some water, apparently. And he has like 90-something patents. Ooh, 727. 97-something patents. And one of his original patents on AR and VR is actually being used by like all of the major tech vendors. So I'm pretty sure that like Meta and Google and AWS, they're all using an expired patent of his to develop AR/VR technology. So he really is almost like a new Tesla in some ways, where he has got some amazing findings, but the powers that be, the indoctrination of the current state, people that are too powerful and too comfortable in their positions of power, instead of actually going through the scientific method and giving this guy some breathing space, he's just calling him a kook and pushing him to the side. Only time will tell, right? If he can create some shit, if he can get some money together from some eccentric billionaire to make one of the things that he's talking about as one of his fundamental theories come true, then that motherfucker is going to be like Iron Man. He's going to be new Elon. And Elon should fucking reach out to him. I think that's one of the last things that Terence was like to Joe, is just like, put me in touch with Elon, bro. Put me in touch with Elon. Let's make this thing happen. Because if you can make rockets, like if Elon's got some skin in this game. If Terence literally has technology that could ensure that he can launch into space and launch rockets to Mars and into space and bypass all of the risk and all of the effort that it costs to burn rocket fuel and use a combustion engine to get the fuck out of here, that's huge. That's fucking massive from Elon's perspective, right? We could have some George Jetson shit where we're just fucking on hover cars and shit like that. It could be the beautiful future that we're trying to imagine for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why I'm optimistic. Is he a bit of a kook? A little bit, but that's what happens. You've got to risk being a fucking weirdo and getting your word out there, especially when you're not being believed. And then, the crazy one, it's honestly at this point in time, with how the media has played out and our complete breaking down of the social contract and all of our institutions that have been just bullshit for the last 40 plus years, it's all of this new information that crops up. People seem less and less like kooks because you see how many fucking ways the governments, the institutions have fucked with us for their own benefit, right? I know I'm starting to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there's some legit shit out there like MK Ultra, like the American government giving drugs and sending drugs and putting cartel, literally putting drugs into poor neighborhoods, doing drug tests and LSD tests on certain crazy people, like fucking, I'm pretty sure one of those serial killers in the Ted Bundy, maybe one of them. I don't know. One of the cult leaders of the 60s and 70s. I forgot their name. I'm not really into cults and murders and shit like that. But there's cover-ups all the time. There's ass covering, right? There is corporate ass covering. I see it on a smaller scale in corporate. So why wouldn't it happen on a government level? There's so much indoctrination of power passing through old hands and old belief systems that you can't trust any of it, man. That's why I want to get the fuck out of here and just live on off. That's why everyone wants to go live off-grid, self-sustainable before everything fucks off. All the billionaires are doing it, and part of me wants to just maybe save a bunch of cash up. I think I've said this already. Just get a bunch of cash up and fuck off ski as well. It's going to be a strange time, man. Strange times are coming. What else have I got going on here? Oh, I saw this article. It's called coffee badging. And the idea of coffee badging is that if you've got hybrid work, if you're a hybrid employee, and you're being forced back into the office, then you just coffee badge. So basically you show up, right? You show up, you touch on, you get a coffee with your colleagues, you have a bit of a chat, but then you fuck off home to do your real work. And that makes me, I'm totally pro that. You cannot expect people to fucking come back into the office after you've given them freedom. You cannot take people's freedoms away. The convenience of having work-life balance and not even having to commute and getting your life back, particularly during COVID when you realize, oh man, I can save 2 hours a day. What? Fucking 10 hours a week? 40 hours, 10 hours a week times 4 weeks, 40 hours a month that I'm not being paid for to do my fucking job and get some life back and be a human being and take up yoga and spend more time with my family and be there for my kids. And now you want me to come back because you don't trust me to do my job, even though I'm probably happier than ever. And the reason why you can't control your people is because your culture fucking sucks and nobody wants to do your goddamn job anyway. Maybe that's the problem, right? But when people have tasted better and a more convenient way has been established, it is hell to try and pull them back into the old way. They've had a taste of freedom. They do not want to give it back. And high performers and people that know their worth will find an organization that will give them that freedom. So I understand why people are just showing up to show face, because that's what it really is, a show face. If you're not justifying why I need to be back in the office, is there a legitimate reason? Things like team culture and connecting once a month, sure, I totally get it. But just being back for the sake of being back with no functional benefit, and that's just being fed down from some corporate fuckface at the top going, well, maybe this will change culture. It won't. You're just making people resent working for you, and they'll probably go somewhere else, right? This is why people quit. This is why people fucking leave, because these are dog shit business ideas so some fuckface can remain some modicum of control in their outdated way of doing things, right? So I understand it. But also what was annoying about clickbaity headline, right? What is coffee badging and why is it mostly men doing it? It's like because the report found that 62% of coffee badgers are men while 38% are women. Like, what does the difference in gender, like how do they don't even address the gender difference. It just says that that's the partition. Maybe like very similar to what there was like some article that debunked the pay gap for men and women. I don't doubt that there's a pay gap in a lot of places, don't get me wrong, but the data was that that's because men are usually doing heavier work, have higher positions, and generally more men are in the workforce than women because of family matters. similar, like, so that makes sense, right? I'm not saying that I would be very surprised that a workplace, particularly in this environment, is going, she's a woman, we'll pay her less. And I'm just maybe speaking from a corporate perspective. Maybe in a business, like a small business, there's some fucking archaic fuckwit. These fucking women, mate, well, yeah, we should not give them the fucking vote. Whatever bullshit kind of pig-headed man would pay a woman less in today's age. Whatever they sound like. You could fill in the blanks, I'm sure. It would make a lot of sense. Make more sense, rather, that those kinds of guys are doing it. But in corporate, I can't see that happening. Right? I cannot see that happening. So, and someone would pick that up, I'm pretty sure anyway. So that's a bit debunked. And then again, this is just some clickbaity bullshit about men doing it. I'm sure it's because there are more men that are doing hybrid jobs, right? And maybe women want to just be more sociable. I don't know. But again, why is it men's fault? I don't know. This misandry, this casual misandry, misandry is the male version of misogyny, in case you were wondering. It just doesn't make any goddamn sense, man. Like, clearly this guy's getting paid on clicks, so he's got to put some fucking clickbaity headline. Adam Rowe. Where are you from? Adam Rowe? Adam Morale? Ugh. He's just a tech blogger, copywriter, and he looks like a fucking dweeb. Yep. Anyway, let the man cook. Let him get paid. Another funny article that I found I thought was interesting. Again, clickbaity. There was this study done talking about microplastics. Big issue, huge issue. Microplastics basically being found everywhere. There was a study done where they were trying to measure sperm count, I think it was. Oh, fuck off with your goddamn ads. But what they had found in this sample size of testicles, the scientists tested 27 human testes, and they found microplastic pollution in every sample. So there's a very high chance that there is, a fraction of a credit card, some bit of plastic from, a pen lid that I've chewed up, a water bottle that I've drunk, bits, there's a tiny piece of Mount Franklin in my sack, and most of the people that have sacks that are listening and watching this podcast. Oh, shit. We have really fucked up as a species, haven't we? We have really fucked this up. That plastics are so prevalent that they're in all of our food, all of our things, in our nuts. And, the male ego is so protective about our dick and balls. We really love to live and die by our own swords. It's so funny that that we've got little bits of plastic in our nuts now. That's insane, bro. What are we doing to ourselves as a society? I have tried to minimize my plastic. I've got water filters, using glass wherever I can, but bro, I'm still, it's almost unavoidable, especially when you're a lazy dude that gets a Uber Eats a couple of times a week like me. There's no way that I'm not just scraping away a little bit of BHP and BPA. That's the BPA, and a bit of fucking, a bit of PET4, just circulating in my bloodstream. So. And then they also tested dog testicles. So I don't. The guy that led this study, his name's Professor Zhao Song Yu. I wonder if there's a link between Zhao Song and testing dogs. Oy vey. There we go. Little casual races in there for you folks. Yeah, man. So yeah, sperm counts have fallen, testosterone declining, plastic in our nut sacks. We really are going to the dogs, aren't we? This is what I mean. Waiting for that social fabric to tear. But maybe it won't tear because it's reinforced with plastic, all the microplastics that we put into the ocean and surrounded ourselves in. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, we are really, as a species, we are really not as fucking smart as we'd like to think we are. I mean, the fact that, many marketing, billions upon trillions of dollars is circulated every day through marketing and advertising using the same core fundamentals that, invoke us to buy, right? So we are pretty predictable, or else we wouldn't be able to create systems, marketing and sales systems that sell people products. And that we are honestly like on the scale of throwing our feces at each other, throwing our shit at each other like monkeys compared to uniting as the collective consciousness that we all could be and are, we are much closer to throwing up our shit at each other than we are to being the collective consciousness that we could be and be that unity, right? Like we are, it's not even close. Like there is so much inbuilt racism and division and all these fundamental things that the ego puts between us and other that it's going to take some serious transformation. This is why everyone's like, can we get the Messiah in to just mass convert us and not put us through the arduous grind of convincing people that, colors are not really a big deal and melanin is not a big deal and, love thy neighbor because it really is just a reflection of you. That's it's fucking hard to do with 8 billion people. Well, maybe one can pray for the mass extinction that's probably going to happen soon. And there might just be 1 billion people that we have to deal with. And that's a much easier step. And because they've seen the lasting effects and damage of what these current societal systems have done, they themselves might go, all right, let's just see each other in this new, beautiful way. There's some of the weird, wild fantasies that I have coursing around my head when I'm doing my laundry and just chilling the fuck out and wondering, what could a beautiful world look like? Maybe it's that. Almost all of it involves a mass extinction event of some sort. It's just the truth. 8 billion people, man. Like, we're not that valuable. When has 8 billion of anything been, like, valuable? You can't even comprehend 1 billion. How many numbers, how many zeros is that in 1 billion? You probably don't even know off the top of your head. So times that by 8. Are we all special, unique beings that deserve life? Yes, maybe. But if we lost half of the population on the planet, would we care? Probably not. And I think the only thing that we care about is the people that we know of. And what we really honestly care about are the people that we actually love. Like the ones we really just care about losing our loved ones or us dying. And then there might be some empathy for other people that you might know, your neighbors and whatnot. But if it's an us versus them mentality and you go, all right, we're going to knock off half your neighborhood and half the people you know are going to die. They're just going to disappear. But all of your loved ones stay. Everyone you like stays. But everyone, and besides that, half the planet dies. A lot of people are going to fucking say yes, because then you think about how quiet the roads are. You think about lines at Disneyland. You think about not being crammed in a train. You think about just having some personal space. You think, hey, maybe a bunch of those people be old fucks. There might be a few nice properties beachside, a couple of mansions that have just opened up that could be available. Might have to relocate and do a little squatty squat, I think plenty of people would take that. If they were like, I protect my crew and everyone else dies, sign me the fuck up. I think there's lots of people. Me included. I think. Me included. Not for my sake. For just humanity's sake. I just can't help but shake the mass extinction event that's coming. And maybe that's some, I don't know, that's intuition or fear, but it feels like, you know how like sometimes birds will fly off and animals know that something's fuck's about to happen before the people do? I feel like that's it. There's just this deep tremor from the universe, from the earth going, it's time, motherfucker. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Yeah, and just shit's going to happen. Can't help it. Can't help it thinking. But yeah, that's I thought it was going to be a quick episode. We've gone 50 minutes of me just rambling about how the world's going to end. Well, I hope you're having fun anyway. I am going to wrap it up there because it's almost fucking 8 o'clock and I need to edit this thing, upload it, and I got to eat dinner too. I've got some shit to do, son. Fuck. It's been a long day. Been getting it done though. All necessary, all part of the journey. That's it for this week, folks. Love yous all. You know where to find me, techsales.academy. Big changes coming soon. Very excited to talk to you guys about that. Yeah, at Jamil Jeremy on all the socials. You know where to find me. Love yous. See you next week. Bye 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 bye.